My name is Lee Seng, and this is a story that happened to me. Back in 1972 or 1973, when the Secret War was raging, I was just a young recruit in the US Army. They sent me far from my Hmong home to fight on their side. I thought I would be facing enemy soldiers, but what I encountered was far more terrifying. One fateful night, my partner and I were deep in the jungle. The moon barely peeked through the dense canopy of trees, casting eerie shadows all around. Suddenly, I heard a gut-wrenching scream. It wasn't the sound of gunfire or grenades, it was something more sinister. I turned to see my partner, his face twisted in fear, being dragged away into the darkness out of nowhere by a human-like creature. I have no idea where it came from. I tried to give chase, but what I saw froze me in my tracks. It was a creature, like a twisted, hairy human, but towering at least 15 to 20 feet tall. Its arms were long and gnarled, ending in claws that could slice through flesh like a piece of paper. I couldn't believe my eyes as I watched it rip through my partner, his screams echoing through the night. This creature was relentless, and it seemed like it was on a rampage. Throughout the war, I realized that most of the time, it wasn't people killing people. It was these nightmarish human-like creatures. When they approached, the trees shook, and the ground trembled like an earthquake. This one time, I was with my crew to guard a small station that we built for a temporary 4-day stay in the jungle. Out of nowhere, we all heard trees fall and winds blow, but when we looked, we couldn't see any fallen trees. Out of nowhere, 2 giant creatures stood about 20 feet away, walking around us. We tried shooting at them, but our guns were useless. Bullets seemed to bounce right off them as if they were invincible. It kills almost everybody in that small station. 3 of my crew members and I got away from that place. When we got to our captain, he just told us to quit and just let everything go as if nothing happened and not to talk about it anymore. It was a horror I could never have imagined, a war not against men, but against these monstrous beings. Years passed, and I eventually made it to the USA, far from the horrors of that war. It was only then that I discovered the truth. Those creatures I had encountered were similar to the legend of Bigfoot, but much larger and infinitely more aggressive. I'd come face to face with something beyond my wildest nightmares, something that still haunts me to this day. I've seen some pretty strange things in my time. So one day, I overheard myself talking to one of my great-uncles about my wartime experiences. Of course, I couldn't resist listening to my own exciting story. I told them about a tough time when I and my fellow soldiers were trekking through the jungle on our way to Laos during the war. It was a real struggle, and sadly, many of our comrades didn't make it. Then, one dreadful day, we got spotted by communist Vietnamese soldiers, and it turned into a terrible bloodbath. Everyone scattered in different directions, and we had already agreed to meet up later if something like this happened. I barely survived, along with a few of my buddies. Alone with just 6 or 7 of us, we couldn't find the others after a few days. Most of us wanted to keep moving forward, while a few wanted to stay behind and make sure the others were okay. So that night, we decided to set up camp and figure things out. As we lit a fire, one of the men, named Blong, couldn't hold back his tears. He was devastated not only about the loss of his family, but also because he'd seen his wife get killed. He started crying even louder, questioning if his wife was really gone. It was hard for him to process all that in such a tough situation. He even yelled that if his wife was still alive, she should come join us in Laos to start a new life. The oldest among us tried to calm him down and convince him to stop crying. The atmosphere got really tense, as if something bad was about to happen. And then, after a few minutes, we heard a voice from below the hill calling the guy's name. A woman's voice was shouting, "Blong, where are you? I'm here, where are you? I'm coming." All of us, including me, were terrified and couldn't believe our ears. It was Blong's dead wife who came back to follow us. We were all mentally shaken from the violence we'd witnessed, but we knew that voice couldn't be human. At this time, Blong was scared because he saw his wife dead right in front of him. The oldest guy decided to put out the fire and told everyone to move higher up the hill and find a hiding place, just in case it was the rest of our group or enemy soldiers. Since there wasn't enough cover for everyone to hide together, we had to split up. We all watched from our hiding spots as something strange approached our camp. It was a shadowy figure that seemed disfigured. The moonlight revealed some creepy details, like its jaws being broken and its tongue hanging out loosely. It was really Blong's wife that came back for us. She looked twisted and messed up. It moved as if all its joints were broken, dragging its feet through the dirt and leaves. I couldn't tell if it had no eyes or if its eyes were closed. As it sniffed around the campfire, it suddenly looked up the hill and started climbing. Unfortunately, I was lower down than the others. I hid under a bush beneath a big tree. As the thing climbed, it came closer to me. I had no choice but to pray to my ancestors. It got right next to me, and the stench was unbearable. I almost fainted, but thankfully it passed me by. We all stayed put the whole night. When morning came, we discussed the situation and decided to go back to confirm the deaths before heading straight for Laos. My older brother passed away about a year ago, and my aunt, who's in her early 30s, was left with 2 kids. My parents didn't want to lose the kids if my brother's wife went to remarry someone else. So my parents want me to marry my brother's wife so I can pick up my brother's life since they are already going well with their lives. She didn't want to spend the rest of her life alone either, but she was worried about hurting my feelings. She discussed it with my mom, and she also talked to me, and we both agreed to marry. At that time, I was 18 years old. I was involved in the secret war and met another girl in one of the villages. We fell in love and made a bloody promise to be together, even though I had to continue fighting. We drink each other's blood and promise we will love each other forever. Sadly, when I returned from the war, I learned that my girlfriend had passed away due to an illness. It was heartbreaking, and I went back to the war. One day, while I was in the jungle, I encountered a strange woman wearing traditional Hmong clothes with the long hair covering her face. I shot in the air to scare that thing because I sensed something was wrong. She screamed and disappeared. I was just standing there, dumbfounded, and somehow I heard my dead girlfriend's voice calling my name for me to come to her. And when I looked in my opposite direction, it was my girlfriend. I took off, running out of that place, and went back to my station. That night I heard someone banging on my wall, and when I took a peek outside, it was my dead girlfriend. She appeared to me, her face rotting, and she revealed herself as the woman from the jungle. She was sorrowful and sad. She whispered that she just wanted to see me. I notice I can't stay in the jungle fighting anymore because I keep seeing my dead girlfriend. So I went back home when my wife found out that I had cheated on her. My wife was in disbelief that I had made a blood promise to another woman. She thought I only loved her, but somehow she forgives me. I found out if my girlfriend was still with me. Even now that I live in the United States, I still see my dead girlfriend following me. Sometimes my kids would take me to the mall, and I would still see her reflection through the glass door wearing Hmong clothes following behind me. But when I looked closely, it was gone, like it was hiding inside my body. As the years passed, I became very hunched over and couldn't stand straight. My wife got me a shaman to perform a ritual and explained that my girlfriend couldn't take me with her because it wasn't my time yet. The shaman revealed that I had been carrying my dead girlfriend on my back my whole life. To all the young people, the blood promise is not a joke. If you think it's a joke, then go ahead and try it, so you will have to experience the horror of what I'm going through.